What's up?
Hey.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Another day. Another show
Mm-hmm.
in the studio.
Keep going. Yeah, I want you. Can you just wrap the whole intro?
That's all I got. But we did have a good show.
Mm-hmm.
We had Travis Thomas and we had Kinleigh Fatheree.
Mm-hmm.
She's a vendor.
Right.
But
Seismos.
with Seismos, but it's like a trusted partner that
Yep.
the Max Completions team has with
Mm-hmm.
them. And so talking a lot about that relationship and some of the uniqueness of it with when it comes to the technology that is used
Right.
currently with other vendors or common technology and how they differentiate themselves.
That's right. It's not every day we get both the vendor and the NOV
Right.
expert on there. A lot of times we hear from the NOV side, but I'm so excited to have the third party also.
Yeah, it was
in
a
the
cool
studio.
cool perspective to have.
Yep.
So
It's a great show.
Let's not waste any more time.
That's right. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the NOV and Seismos partnership. Very excited. We have Travis Thomas and Kinleigh Fatheree here. So thank you both for joining. Can we start out, maybe can you tell the people a little bit about what you do? I know, Travis, you're here with NOV.
Sure.
Can you talk about your role a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah. So, I oversee or look after the CTS business. So, previously that was coiled tubing engineering service, but that has really transitioned more into completions digital, and so it is engineering, aggregation, visualization of all of the completions operations in a digital form.
Right.
Very cool.
Very cool.
And Kinleigh, you're with Seismos.
I am with Seismos. Within the last year or so, I've moved over to this partnerships role where I manage partnerships exactly like this one. Really, my background is in, frac and completions technology, and that's what we're bringing together here is knowledge of the surface and the subsurface. So at Seismos, there's only so much that we can do with the data that we have, the data that we collect, and having partners gives us the ability to expand what we provide to our customers. And that's what I'm managing today.
Yeah. So when we're talking about the Max Completions and the Seismos collaboration, it's what we're going to be discussing today. Can you explain it a little bit and maybe how this partnership came to be? How it
Absolutely. So at NOV, it's more of a strategy than just a partnership between friends. So from Max Completions and the Max Portal, NOV is not trying to be the everything to everyone. We're not trying to be the IP and the most advanced analytics for every operation. We're partnering with the companies like Seismos that do very unique analytics or very unique measurements and actually doing partnerships to bring the best technology together with the best hardware and the best platform.
Right.
And not doing it like we're just adding apps or adding a bunch of stuff to it, but specifically looking for those best companies to work with to give those customers that best view of their operations.
Really curating it.
That's right.
It's like,
Okay.
Gotcha. Kinleigh?
Yeah, so we provide a very specific offering, and what we're doing with NOV is what we call our Seismos acoustic friction analysis, where we deliver information about the subsurface, but there's data that we need. There's pumping information. We need information about rates and pressures and things that you wouldn't even think about, proppant concentration, FR concentration, to make our data usable and better. So using what is delivered to us from Max Completions, we can run our calculations, provide those perf efficiency numbers that are so valuable, pipe frictions, if you're looking to evaluate FRs, whatever. Honestly, the list goes on and on. And then, detecting all these instances of the calculations occurring, delivering it back to the platform. So we have this opportunity to not just get measurements, but also display them in real time in a dashboard that's available to anybody who wants to see it. So any sort of decision maker, whether you're a completion engineer sitting in an office, if you're an on-site consultant sitting in a frac van, now not only do you have standard treating pressure or whatever, but you've got information about what's actually going on downhole. Thanks to Max Completions, you're seeing it live.
Okay. So, like, how long has this kind of partnership been going on, and where are you guys at as far as like the development of either technology or, I guess, just the partnership itself? I understand you guys have kind of done something similar to this already a few times. So, like, I wanted to kind of get a, what's the latest on where we're at?
So the official partnership was at the first of the year.
Okay.
We did not let the world know about the official partnership because when you're connecting databases and you're connecting such unique technology like
super
Seismos,
complicated. Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of technical discussions to be able to seamlessly connect.
Right.
More surface level data, that would be easy. You could do that in a week. But when you're doing this really high end analytics, it took us a little while to get there. So we got there. We did a lot of test runs on data that we had, and then we kind of showed it to the world during ERTEC back in June.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we've had the opportunity to talk about this a few times now, and I really can't say enough about how much props that our software teams deserve for how much work that they put into this. It has not been a small effort
Right.
of these guys who've been working nonstop to be able to get this done. So, like Travis said, our measurements are all in there. That's all good to go. And now we're working on the next iteration of, all right, the data's in there. How do we make it really usable, very visual? So that's, we're working with our customers to make these measurements as actionable as possible,
Yeah.
whether you're on location or whatever. So currently I would say that that's the state that we're in.
And when you're thinking about some of the challenges that maybe folks in fracking operations face currently, how is this partnership kind of tackling those? How are we addressing some of those? Or maybe what are they, and then how are we addressing
so I'll let Kinleigh answer the specifics, but from a high level, the problem with frac is that the frac data van and the servers that are on there all use proprietary data sources. And there's so many disparate data sources on location. So one frac vendor maybe 1 second, one maybe 1.1 second data. There's all these different data sources. But the customer, the end user, the well owner wants to get the same data the same way every day.
Sure.
And so what NOV is solving is putting all of that data, independent of where it comes from, into one ingestible format. So one timestamp, if you want to see treating pressure as always treating pressure, it doesn't matter who's on location, because their server's going to send you some really weird name with underscores and a lot of stuff, but you're going to get the data the same way every time. And then it's where Seismos comes in, and not just taking surface data from frac brand and wireline and pump down and chemicals, but then taking downhole measurements for what she has.
Yeah, and I guess diving down maybe a little bit more into the technical side, just being able to see everything together. So taking it back a little bit, maybe to the original days of the Seismos SAFA measurements, you'd get a stage report at the end of the stage, and that's the only data that I get. I would see our measurements, but I don't see treatment plots. I don't know, did 50% perf efficiency matter? Like, did the stage actually look bad?
You're just seeing everything after you've done everything and trying to
Exactly.
figure out what was valuable to me
Exactly.
8 hours
The
ago.
report
Was
card,
it?
yeah.
And then on the flip side, I've been an on-site decision maker before, seeing treatment trends occur and then not really understanding why they're occurring, and now having the ability to get that information about what's going on downhole. And that's really something you could only get previously from fiber bottom hole gauges or whatever. So you're getting all this information from surface, and now I can tie back these treatment trends to real subsurface conditions and not just have to guess, all right, what do I think is going on right now?
So please correct me if I'm wrong. I like to kind of come into these conversations a little bit just like, I don't know what's going on.
Fresh.
Explain it to me. But you're getting basically like real-time data from surface equipment or surface measurements. Somehow the math works out and you're getting all this real-time to where beforehand it was basically like a black box solution
Yeah.
where you would
Right.
just go and see, what did we do today? We have to move on to a new well, but how does that apply to the next well? I don't really know.
Correct.
Okay.
That is the key word, is real time.
Okay.
Because SAFA without a direct connection to the data source
Mhm.
is post stage.
Okay.
Well, you can only change the next one, the next stage, if you only get it post.
Yeah.
In NOV's max completions with SAFA,
Yeah.
now you have real-time downhole measurements and real-time tools to be able to change either on the fly or already set up for that next stage. And that's really what their team
I think this is really
empowers.
interesting. It makes me think of a project we just did, but it's the customer is looking for something very simple.
Correct.
Like they want a simple solution, but to get there, there's so much complexity to sift through now. I feel like the pathway to simplicity is very complex.
That is why that tagline for MD Todco inside of NOV
Yeah.
is your data made easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't mean it's easy for us. We mean it's easy when you look at it.
Yeah.
But we'll
Yeah.
do all the hard work so your data is easy
Yeah.
for you. And
Right.
we definitely understand that tagline, and we understand where the work
Yeah.
has to happen.
Yeah. And I try to look, I agree with, I'm kind of like Paul, I try not to over look into it, but I was trying to understand a little bit. So I guess prior, or the other option, something to do with fiber, with having to go down, whereas
Absolutely.
now we're at the surface. Am I understanding that correct? Or can you?
Yeah, I mean, permanent fiber is, don't get me wrong, it's a great technology, super valuable. There's a lot of industry decisions that would never have been made without it. But it is extremely expensive. It is extremely invasive. It makes your operations so much harder. As somebody who's been a lot of permanent fiber work, to be able to do the exact same thing. And we've correlated these measurements against permanent fiber, so that's,
Right.
really not an issue. But we're collecting it all just by using high frequency pressure transducers on surface versus having to lay an entire permanent
Right.
fiber cable when you're casing the well, and then all sort of things.
Yeah, the comparison is a NOV Max Edge device that fits, just in the center of this table in a small pressure transducer per well versus fiber optic installed in your complete well all
Right.
the way to 20,000 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. And can you, so a little bit on the sort of challenges that NOV and Seismos are solving, kind of going back to that. I know I saw something about like an operational, or can you explain what some of those concepts are when we're looking
So-
at the challenges?
So a lot of digital companies and a lot of engineering groups that are trying to do digital for the oil field focus on this word digital twin.
Right.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do is take the digital sensors in the oil field and represent them in the office, or replicate what digital looks like in the office, trying to kind of spoof what a piece of equipment is.
Yeah.
Max Completions is not a digital twin.
Okay.
So wrote some papers for ADIPEC that'll be coming out this year, and introduced the term operational twin. So digital twin, we have the sensors. Digital twin is part of it. It's going to come in. You're going to get that digital representation.
Yeah.
But operational twin is when you take the well context, the digital twin of every sensor on location, the engineering and interconnected downhole stuff, and then add it with human context. So Max Completions allows you with your phone app or your platform or the local software for humans to measure things that are so hard to measure on location, because the most important sensor on location every day is eyes, ears, smell. It is the people that are standing there, and the platform has the ability for them to add context and add numeric values to their context that drive these complex equations.
Okay.
So you have this great digital twin, but until you add the whole context, you can't get to what is operational twin that truly allows you to sit in a remote ops center and see the job just like you're sitting there.
Ah.
And so
Yeah.
it would be no different than sitting in the frac van, looking out the window, seeing it,
Yeah.
as sitting in our office.
Gotcha.
So that's the concept, and that's the real push, and
Yeah.
that's what we drive to every day. And so anything we try to build, anyone we try to work with, if it doesn't fit that, we know we're not on the right strategy, because that's what everyone's looking for, is to be able to recreate the field in the office.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is always exactly what you're saying, that how do you incorporate that human element into
Yep.
something like, data, and bringing all of that in? Where's that marriage between the two? That's really great.
Yeah. And so that phone app is super powerful. Our team gets so much pleasure getting on a plane in Canada, Latin America, somewhere in the U.S., especially a non-oilfield city, and see someone 3 rows over on the Max Completions app. And it's like every phone in the office lights up, and because they're all texting us like, this guy's sitting over here, and I'm like, go talk to him. He's like, I'm scared. But it's like, it's good.
That's great.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important too. Like, I think nowadays we've gotten so used to everything being
Yep.
available on our phones that it's so nice that kind of translates to what we're doing here as well.
Absolutely.
It's really exciting. So what sets y'all apart from other things in the industry, of other, what is about this partnership that is so unique, you say?
I think it is leveraging what Kinleigh's already said, not having to do fiber, but get real-time measurements downhole, aggregated with everything else.
Right.
And not having it as an app or an add-on, or trying to just upsell small widgets in some platform, but it's the whole. This is your system, the perfect way for you to be able to see your frac.
Gotcha.
They differentiate in so many different ways, because you can reduce cost. You can still see the measurements. You can see downhole things that everyone's trying to just calculate. They're seeing it through that acoustic monitoring, and then putting it all in one place. It really, truly does differentiate.
To add on to that, I think, for years and years, a lot of operators have really focused on taking these kind of measurements. Maybe if you're doing what I hate to refer to as a science project. I hate science projects. So you do maybe 1 pad, 4 wells, 8 wells, you throw whatever technology you want on it, and you get information about that specific pad. And then you hope that it translates to the rest of your field.
Right.
Through this partnership, you can get those exact same kind of measurements on every single well in your area, in your program, whatever, and continuously optimize, and not just have to look back at this science pad that you just did and hope that, whatever perf design you chose, or whatever FR product you chose that was applicable there is applicable everywhere. Now you can easily implement those exact same kind of learnings on every single one of your well. So it's just so scalable in comparison to how things have been done in the past.
Yeah.
We're asked to, or not asked, we enjoy writing SP papers, because we enjoy standing up and talking about what we do. And then there's the push, even from internal teams, to always add case studies. But when you live in this real-time world, when someone asks for a case study, I'm like, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. I want to tell you
we've already moved on.
I want to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. I want to tell you what you can see now. And so pulling case studies is always, it's kind of a drag. So we have to go, you're going back to mine data that you're already telling the world that's not what we're trying to help you with.
Right.
But we still find ourselves doing that every day.
Yeah.
So.
Marketing team appreciates it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious too, and this might be more for you, Kinleigh, on like, for example, some of the softwares we use, the most useful part for me with social media and marketing is then getting to talk to the team behind the software and get help from them, get advice on strategy. Is that part of it, or I guess what beyond the measurements do y'all offer?
Yeah, definitely. So we never want to just deliver a customer some numbers and then tell you to figure it out. It's a collaboration process. So the Seismos engineering team is heavily involved, no matter if it's, obviously if it's just a Seismos only job, but also in the partnerships.
Yeah.
There's engineers assigned to all of this work. They're the ones who take a look at the data that we're getting back. They do the analysis, and then they make recommendations to make things better. Or if things are going fine, then they just tell you to keep doing what you're doing. But we're never just going to, be like, all right, this is what you got for this stage. Figure it out. Not my problem anymore. Like, there's an entire engineering team who's assigned to looking at this data, and we both have respective 24/7 remote operating centers where there's constantly people looking at the data that's getting coming back to us. So there's collaboration between our real-time engineers who are looking at this, and then on top of that, an even more experienced engineer who's doing the analysis. So it's just constant collaboration between our teams and then back to the customer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last week we had Kinleigh wants to add new things, and everyone wants to add new things to platforms all the time. You're like, oh, because it's never good enough, and it shouldn't
Right.
be good enough. If you're not recreating, you're not doing digital the right way. So Kinleigh has all these visions of what we can do. And it was sales talking to sales, and it's like, no, you have to come in and talk to the whole technical team. So she flew in last week for like a 6-hour requirements meeting. It's like, stand at the whiteboard and draw out what you want, and we'll tell you what you cannot have. And we will tell you what you can have, and how long it takes to build each. And so we collaborate all the way from the person doing the code to the person using it or pushing for certain things. So it gets really fun in those rooms.
Yeah.
They're quite heated because you get a lot of opinions of what I think I have to have and what
You
I
guys
think I can
told me
build.
I could have everything.
That's right.
So I'm not sure what the problem is there.
I'm curious about the data itself. How much of it is like, you talked about there's a team of engineers. It's not just about here, Mr. Mrs. Customer, here's your data, do with it. How much though is it like the data is clear, and how much interpretation or skill in understanding what the data means is there?
So-
I'm just curious because I hear a lot of that when we talk about, Max in general or other things or other digital products that we offer.
Great question from not being from the frac side.
Yeah.
Like that's a really because so when we're doing surface data, if you're doing data just for max completions on the surface equipment, you have to interpret everything that happens downhole.
Right.
When you pull Seismos in, the interpretation is gone because it is measuring the downhole conditions. And so it's just like our wired drill pipe or our DBS solution at
Okay.
NOV where we are putting downhole tools. You no longer interpret what's happening, you see what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not interpretation of the data
Okay.
itself. There are direct measurements, which is really what we pride ourselves on.
Right.
Our R&D team really put this incredible product out so that we don't really have to interpret the measurements that come back. Where the engineering team really comes in is, all right, I get this data back. How do I change it? That's
Okay.
much more difficult. All right, stage with 60% perf efficiency. I understand what that means.
Right.
How do I make that better? Which that's where we have engineering teams who are the ones who say, all right, based on our database, we know you can do this or whatever with your number of perfs or your EHD, your cluster count or
Right.
whatever to make things better. So that's really where the engineering knowledge comes in,
Yeah.
not so much in the interpretation of the measurements because that's
I think that's more what I was getting at. Is
Yeah.
like, we don't have to guess. I'm not saying like we're just we get the actual number, but I think what you were saying, like, what do we do now? What's the
Definitely.
action, or what does it mean for me now as
Absolutely.
a customer? To what's my next step now that I have this number from downhole? Or
Definitely.
Yeah.
And even long-time completions engineers have a difficult time answering that question if you don't have the data set to back up
Yeah.
what you're trying to do. And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of stages at this point
Yeah.
to help make that decision in every basin in North America. And now it's a joint database, so it's not just, okay, what did we see downhole? How did we make a difference? But also, how did that tie into what
Gotcha.
happened on surface?
That's
Yeah,
great.
I think that's so. CTS was started with Cerberus, so that is
right.
coal tubing modeling software that can model the fatigue on coal tubing as it's ran and model the forces downhole. That was developed using real data
Yeah.
of what's actually happening, and that's what Seismos is doing. Is they're acquiring that real data, so then it could lead to modeling and future telling.
Very nice.
And so, how is this currently looking for employees? Like, how is it being incorporated if somebody, one of our customers, did I say employees?
You
I
said
meant
employees.
customers. Yeah. As I was talking, I was like, I don't think I answered that right. How does it look for customers? So when customers are logging into, say, Max Completions, or how does it look for them?
So if, like she said, if Seismos was delivered on its own, because partnership doesn't mean that you have to use Max Completions and Seismos. It doesn't mean that you could be Max Completions or just Seismos. But we're selling together. We're offering together. We're saying this is a better view. So they could log on and see just their surface data.
Yeah.
If they didn't care, or they had fiber optic. Or they could go to Seismos and see just their downhole data. But combined, you see those same surface treatment plots. So everyone in the frac world is very familiar with the PRC, pressure rate concentration plot. But you're seeing it with the Seismos data ticking along with it. So if they make a rate change, you see the values come in.
Yeah. Very cool. So how does I want to talk a little bit, I might need you to define it for me again. You mentioned SAFA
Yes.
technology.
That-
Can you explain a little bit? I want to ask on like the uniform, or how does that work?
Definitely, yeah. So haven't really touched on this yet, but it's Seismos acoustic friction analysis, where all of our technology is acoustic based, and what actually happens during the job is any rapid rate change that occurs, and I'm talking 3 to 5 barrels a minute, not dropping all the way down to zero, whatever. It's a very small change in rate that we need. That gets analyzed. So certain pressure signatures will be generated when that occurs. And I won't get super sciencey, but we analyze those pressure signatures and piece apart perf friction and pipe friction components. So from perf friction, we get perf efficiency. We get calculated initial entry hole diameters. So if you're wanting to understand, okay, I'm expecting to shoot a perf diameter of 0.32, but we're telling you it's closer to 0.34 or something along those lines. You get that data. From perf efficiency, since we're measuring that throughout the stage, we can see how cluster flow is changing, and from that we get a uniformity index. So it's basically exactly what fiber is providing. So that's a really good measurement of just overall stage performance. And then you've got the pipe friction component, where you can evaluate FR products, how additives or water quality might impact your friction reduction. But it really all comes from those rapid rate changes that get analyzed. So we typically ask for them to happen maybe 2 to 3 times a stage. But anything that is unplanned, like a truck kicks out or whatever, we can analyze that as well. But it's honestly, it's really simple, which is the nice thing about it.
Sounds simple.
Yeah.
Sounds super simple.
Believe me, it is very simple.
Yeah, maybe that's my brain, but that, like y'all said, it's nice that it's for y'all to know the technical side, and then for our customers.
That's right.
like,
It's
it
for
look
us to deal
simple.
with the hard part.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what the customer sees is just the answer.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
Well, is there anything y'all want to kind of plug? Is there anything coming up, or maybe where people can learn more if they?
I
wanna
was
find
going to
out?
ask, what's the next step? Or like,
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
have
yeah, I
like
guess what's-
a
yeah.
new milestone coming, or even just like, what's y'all's hopes, or like, what are you looking forward to, and kind
So-
of the continuance of the partnership?
from my side, I'm really looking forward to those customers that want to see this data,
Yeah.
but don't want to spend for fiber optic, and we want to see more data there together to be able to truly show them how we can support it and not talk about it.
Right.
We're going to be presenting at ADIPEC. We'll be presenting at the Near Wellbore Conference in Tennessee with Seismos. Obviously, my team is always at the ICOTA event, so
Yeah.
it's Europe, Latin America, Canada. So the end of the year gets really, really busy for the team. So all the way up to Thanksgiving, we just aren't home.
Yeah.
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 I'm also excited about all those things. But for sure, to touch back on something that Travis mentioned, these things that we're constantly developing. So right now, it's not just the real-time measurements within the dashboard, but also overall well evaluation, pad evaluation, tying back the measurements to different completion variables, and trying to paint a really clear picture of the data within Max Completions
Yeah.
itself. I think the future of this dashboard is really exciting as somebody who really enjoys watching frac jobs. But
Don't feel bad.
I know.
Don't feel bad.
Hey, yeah.
Our
Do
remote
your
ops
thing.
room is full of people that love it.
Love it.
So it's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
I need it. We need
I like
you.
to be
Yeah.
able to walk in and leave when you want to.
Yeah.
You know, and all the papers that you've seen about Seismos Staff data, because the operators are super excited, they all talk about post-stage analytics. So I think what that milestone is to see those operators do it in real time. And to see the industry start to change and start accepting that you can change frac
Yep.
stage to stage or on the fly.
Yeah.
That you can change your FR, you can change your rate, and you can change it and see what happens.
Right.
If you want to do a science project, you need to do it in the stage and not well to well, because the wells
Yeah.
are all different.
Yeah. I think that's you kind of pressed on that was
Yeah.
like I think with anything digital, not just in oil field, I'm talking about in all of life. There's a lot of talk about
Yeah.
what can be done, but you're talking about see it. You want to
See it.
see it. You want to do it. I think that's
right.
a very important thing.
Right.
That this is something you can actually do and activate and make an action plan for yourself. It's not just digital talk.
You could be sitting in the middle of a stage and just change the rate by 5 barrels a minute.
Yeah.
It's not going to change the difference of putting the sand away or not, and you could see perf efficiency change.
Great.
It's really exciting.
Awesome.
Well, thank y'all so much
Yeah.
for coming in.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anytime,
It's a
anytime.
really nice new studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.